Welcome, everybody, to Pointed in the Right Direction Book YouTube. And today we have Joseph Adams with us. And this is going to be a several part journey. Um, he had an accident a while ago, and he's been dealing with some things. And I always say this is a journey and it is a process. With that being said, we are going to start the process here. So, welcome, Joseph, and tell us your story to begin with.
I'm Joseph Adams, and I was working at a foundry. I was in the permanent mold department. That means I was casting metals. In this case, it was molten aluminum into big casting machines. And this particular machine that I was working on started malfunctioning, and I didn't think anything of it. It's just a common thing. It happens with 75-year-old machinery. It just starts going haywire for a little bit. So I went through my normal process. I got it fixed, and I was holding the cores that I was using for the parts to keep them hollow. I was holding those cores in there, and then I used my other hand to turn the machine so that way it would open fully. There were some pins in there that needed to uh, be fully engaged in order to have the mold close properly. And so I opened the machine to have those pins reset. And instead of opening, the machine went haywire again and it closed. And by the time I looked down, it was already too late for me to even pull my hand out. So I was able to get most of my fingers out, but my thumb was crushed. Um, I had a split second to be able to do that, and I didn't move quite fast enough, and so my thumb was crushed. And I thought, oh, this isn't going to be that bad after I finally got the machine to let go of me. It's not that bad. It doesn't hurt that bad. I pulled my heat glove off, looked at my thumb. It wasn't bleeding. I thought, okay, cool. It it looks a little squished. Okay, and that's when it started uh, hemorrhaging. And I thought, okay, this is going to be a bigger problem than I thought. I went to go wash it off. Didn't stop the bleeding. I went to the safety manager's office. Uh, he immediately freaked out, got me to the hospital. X-ray showed that the thumb was in um, at least a dozen pieces. The X-ray itself shows that it was just pulverized, and that is when I saw that first X-ray. That's when I realized, oh, this isn't something that I can just bounce back from like I normally do. Um, and It was right about that time that my wife came in right after they told me what was going on, what probably will be happening next. And the trauma doctor at the ER, she didn't know if I was going to be able to keep the thumb or not. But the surgeon, the orthopedic surgeon that they had was not in at the time, and so they needed to make an appointment later down the road. It was on a Friday. I wouldn't be able to get into the surgeon until Monday, so they reset the bone in the meantime. And my poor wife, my fiance at the time, very pregnant, but uh, she she came right in as they set the bones, and she came in, sat down, and passed out. So it was a fun little debacle for everyone. I laugh at it, she laughs at it. It was a fun time, um, and And from there, I've been struggling with keeping keeping my hand mobile, keeping it active. This is all I've got left of the thumb. It looks relatively intact. The bones, however, are in a Z formation. I cannot move it more than that. That is all I've got, and it's practically useless, and it's painful and sensitive and needs to go.
Okay. Sorry for the accident. First off, hindsight 2020, there are those moments that hopefully you can laugh at. Um, I was 6 months into my second marriage at the time of my accident, and my ex-wife now, she went to step out of the room one time while the doctors were doing something, x-rays or something. I can't remember. But she looked over because they sent the fingers with me in the ambulance in a plastic bag. And on ice in this plastic bag. And she had been so focused on me that as she started to walk out, she caught that bag out of the corner of her eyes and turned back and took a second look, and at that point in time realized what it was, and it's a good thing she was leaving the room at the moment, just because, yeah, she just kind of, oh no, I can't see that, and ran out of the room. um, but it it's a journey. So how long has it been? Year and a half? Two
It
years?
has. We are coming up on 2 years since the date of injury.
Okay. How long did you have physical therapy, hand therapy?
I only had hand therapy for about 5 months, but that was after the initial surgery. The first surgery, I have had two surgeries, and there was a proposed third and fourth, but I wanted to skip those steps. So I was able to convince my doctor to go straight for amputation. The first surgery, they took my thumb and they put multiple pins through it, externally fixed on both sides, and those pins were just there to keep it completely immobile while the bone healed on its own because it was pulverized. Um, Later on, a non-union did form, and so they needed to go in for a second surgery or revision, and it was only following that one that I started going to therapy. And I was only in therapy for about 5 months. And the reason why it was so short of a time was because there was absolutely no market improvement whatsoever. Um, so they, after 5 months, they're like, "You have improved your range of motion by 2 degrees. That's not good enough to warrant anything." And so I'm in Washington State, and our workers' comp is called LNI, Department of Labor and Industries. Um, and so the amount of time that I was spending in therapy did not warrant LNI's caseload to continue having me on. So they cut it short, and I worked on it myself after that, and I still have had no market improvement whatsoever.
Yeah. Um, Things have changed. So I'm coming up on 10 years on my accident, and the surgeons are taught to save as much as possible. And they kind of look at it as a failure if they can't get you back to the level you are at this
Mm-hmm.
point in time. An amputation is a failure in their eyes.
And I do understand that from their point of
Eh,
view.
and yes, now, like I say, coming up on 10 years ago, this prosthesis that I wear was not even available at the time of my accident. It became available about 6 months after my accident. So there's been a lot of changes, of which I'm wearing the third gen of those fingers that they make now. And so they've changed over time. That's why we're having this discussion, because you have elected to have a surgery to remove your thumb. And there's a surgeon that's agreed to it. So, at what level is the amputation be?
It is going to be at the metacarpal IP joint. So right where the thumb meets the hand,
Mm-hmm.
visibly, that is where they're going to amputate, because this particular joint has only about 30 degrees of motion, as seen here, and
Mm-hmm.
this joint is completely useless. It is fixed permanently, and that is due to the tendon and ligament and bone damage all throughout my thumb. The metacarpal itself is completely unharmed. Like I said earlier, I was able to get the rest of my hand out, but it did catch the external part of my thumb.
Yeah.
And so that is right where I'm getting it taken off, is right at that joint. The doctor did say that he was going to shave a little bit of the nub, because all bones where they meet, they have that little bulb on them. He's going to shave off a little bit of that to make it not so stubby. Um, and he explained to me the other processes that he's going to be doing, all pretty straightforward. And ultimately, that is what I wanted. What it does is it removes this problem from my hand entirely, and it gives the best platform for a prosthetic to be able to sit on.
Yes. Now, this is something we haven't talked about that just barely got approval a couple of months ago, but osteo integration, putting a pin into that metacarpal and attaching a point digit thumb to that pin.
Oh, wow.
And after we get through, I have some pictures of it, but I, I will do some talking on the backside after.
Yeah.
Just I'll reach out, get some names and stuff, because we got a week, right,
Yes, sir.
for this surgery. It might be, don't shave that down. Um,
We'll
be,
talk about it.
yes, yeah, we'll talk about that stuff on the backside. But yes, and
That's
that's why we're
wow.
having this discussion, to get word out, to talk about things. And when I say this is going to be a series, we are going to follow Joseph and do 2 or 3 more video discussions on what he's going through, the decision, what he's feeling, as much as he feels comfortable with, because I've had 2 revisions myself. I know the emotions that I felt in both of them. The first one was very emotional. I was giving up a part of my body. The second one, I knew what I was gaining giving up that part of my body. And it was like, let's just get this over and done with so I can get on with life type things. So, with that being said, describe some of your emotions over the last little while.
Um, Emotions are always something difficult for me to talk about, not because not because I'm an emotional person, but kind of the lack thereof. My entire adult life, uh, actually probably my entire life period, I have always had the mindset of emotions don't matter. They they just kind of get in the way of the facts. They You might feel a certain way, but how you feel about a situation isn't going to change the situation itself. And so I don't usually let myself feel emotion. I feel frustrated. I feel tense. I feel happiness and joy and whatnot. All those things. I feel them, but it's difficult for me to describe them just because I don't actively think about it. So with that being said, I think the best thing to say about it is up until this point, it's been incredibly frustrating for me because I can't do anything that I used to do. I used to be a weightlifter. I used to do martial arts. I'm a sword fighter. I like to rock climb. I have my cello right here because I'm a musician. I've been playing cello for over 20 years, and I can't do these things because my thumb aches so bad. Granted, with the cello, it is my bow hand, so it's not as big of a deal if I lost one of my playing fingers. Nevertheless, just the weight of the bow is problematic for my thumb to be able to counterbalance and hold. And then rock climbing and sword fighting completely out of the question. Washing dishes is a struggle. In fact, when I was reading through your book, you had mentioned you had that section that talked about washing the dishes and how you're just like, hey, wait a minute, if I just switch my hands, that would work. And my wife, who was in the kitchen washing the dishes, I called her over and I said, sweetheart, wait a second, I can do that. That's I'm such an idiot for not thinking of that. Um, because I wash my dishes the same exact way you do. I brace the dish with my right hand, I scrub with my left. I can't brace the dishes with my right hand anymore. So I thought that's such a stupidly easy thing to fix. But so anyway, thank you for opening my eye on that. So up until this point, it's been nothing but frustrating. I've done construction work. I can't do that anymore. I've done foundry work. Can't do that anymore. I got a leather working job for a little bit, just sanding boots, and theoretically I should have been able to do that, but I couldn't do it because my hands were not dexterous enough. My thumb wasn't allowing me to grip the boots tight enough. In fact, in my first week, I lost grip on the boot while while on the sander, and I ended up buzzing my hand something pretty bad, and I got a gnarly scar across my knuckle for it now. So all of these things I can't do, or I feel like I can't do, and 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 it was about a year ago, um, just shy of 11 months, just about, that my wife one day, uh, her usual remark when I was talking about, well, when I was complaining about my hand, her usual remark was, "Well, we could just cut it off," talking about my thumb.
Yeah.
And for some whatever reason, that particular time, even though she always meant it relatively sarcastically, um, it just stuck with me. And I thought, what if we did? And I mean, what would I be losing? And so I started doing my research, and that's when I realized there is actually hope. People with prosthetics, they notice this amount of recovery usually. They um, this is what their range of motion is. This is what they can do. These are what different prosthetics can do. If you keep, certain amounts of your thumb or whatever, and And that is when I reached out to a prosthetic company who then put me in touch with the amputee group that you are a part of. And that's where you and I got into contact. And then you pointed me in the direction of point. And I thought, the more I thought
Play
about
on
it, just
words.
it, it works. It's exactly that for a reason, I think. And and you pointed me down that path, and here I am. This is what I want to do moving forward. It's going to get me the most range of motion back. It's going to get me the most stability back. It's going to let me hold a sword again. I'm going to be able to start doing jujitsu again. I am going to be able to play my cello again. I am very excited for this. I will be able to do all of the things that I used to be able to do with a little bit of uh, adjusting, but it's better than not being able to do it or it being incredibly painful when I try. And I can deal with the adjustment. That's fine. If I do it just a little bit slower, I'm fine with that. So yeah, I am hopeful now. I think bringing it back to the emotion. Now I am hopeful and ready to move forward rather than just stay frustrated and on yellow alert waiting for the next tiny little injury to set me back another week or three.
Yes. And I feel your pain in all of that. Back when we were trying to save two of my fingers, I just had skin over bone, grafted skin over bone, and I'd get a little friction burn. And because there wasn't any, you know, good blood flow and everything, that little cut friction burn would take 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks to heal. And it was the most frustrating because, yeah, all of a sudden you're babying that hand, having to keep it bandaged out of the way. And it just takes up so much mental capacity because all of that just builds up and builds up and builds up over time.
Yeah.
And so, a question around pain
Mm-hmm.
now, is your pain constant or
Constant.
is it okay? Um, has the doctor said anything about what he feels that might be
Nope.
after? Okay.
Uh, oh, for after the surgery, he thinks that it will not be any worse than it is, and he says that due to the fact that it is the external portion of my thumb that is severely damaged and in pain all of the time. It's specifically the joints that are stiff and painful all the time. He says you get those removed. Yeah, there's the likelihood of the phantom pain, but considering that you don't have that right now, I know I'm not missing my thumb, but um, considering that all I have is arthritic aches and pains, he does not think that is going to be a problem. But as far as anything other than that, he doesn't really know. He doesn't think that there's going to be much pain afterwards, but that's all he's given me.
And we're all different. Our accidents and traumas and stuff are all different. So, the one thing on my side, I say the pain is real, of which I've found ways to lower my pain and stuff. And I've discussed that in the book and everything. But the phantom pain, they call it, in my eyes, it's sensation,
Okay.
yeah, I feel a finger. And most of the time, the one that I feel is my index finger, and it's just kind of sitting out in space.
Okay.
dating myself, ET, go home type thing. But that's just the thought in my head and what I feel, you know. So it's not painful. It's just the funky weirdness.
Okay.
That's the only
I
way
can
I can.
I can deal with funky weirdness. I'm just tired of the pain.
Oh yeah, and that's why I devoted a whole chapter to
Mm-hmm.
pain,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't care how strong an individual is, how many pain pills an individual's on. If you're sitting around doing nothing, your mind still
Mm-hmm.
migrates to that pain. And that pain can take you to dark places. And so I'm all about alleviating that pain. And, you know, over this journey myself, I've coined some phrases and come up with some statements, of which the one, we don't know what we don't know.
Very true.
And the surgeons are great at putting us back together and stuff. But at the same time, they don't feel what we're feeling. I don't feel what you're feeling. You don't feel what I'm feeling. We can have compassion and empathy for each other because we both live within our own world of pain. And we can say, yeah, I can relate to that, but still, you know, our pain levels are different, our thresholds are different, and everything. And the doctors, the nurses, and such, they don't know that. Oh, it hurts. Okay. Uh, you know, um, I love and hate my hand surgeon. He's operated on my hand 9 times, and he takes, and my surgeries are on Tuesday. He gives me pain pills to get me to the weekend. I run out. I called the on-call doctor to get another prescription. Well, I got to check with your surgeon, and I never hear back type thing. And the last 2 surgeries I had, it's like, Doc, I'm not a drug addict. I need 7 to 10 days worth of pain pills to get me through this.
And even then, it will still hurt after. That's just to make the pain
Yeah,
bearable.
that's just exactly to get it down to the manageable level for
Yep.
me, you know, and in the hundreds of phone calls and stuff that I've done over the years talking to individuals, that's the one thing that I have noticed. The ones that their doctors manage their pain for longer than a couple of days, maybe upwards even to a month, they have lower levels of pain, long term pain going down the road.
Hmm.
Um, there's a thing out there called neuroplasticity. And I think it comes into play big time as we're sitting there suffering through the pain. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. We're just stacking that hurt on top of each other.
Yeah.
And if we can limit the number of cards in that deck that hurt, it makes it easier.
It does.
Yeah. So in a week, you're having the surgery. What are your thoughts right now about it? Where do you stand?
I am. I am happy to be able to move forward or think about moving forward rather than just sitting around babying my hand, waiting for the next time I accidentally smack it against the cabinet while pulling off a paper towel, or or hit it with the cast iron skillet while cooking eggs or whatever have you. Any little tiny bump, or even uh, my daughter was 3 months old when she started first grabbing things, and one of the first things she grabbed was my thumb. And at 3 months, she almost sent me under with the amount of pain that she put me in. She's got an iron grip at 3 months old, and now that she's 19 months, uh, it's only gotten stronger. And anytime she grabs my thumbs, just whoop, there it goes again. I am ready to be able to move past that. I am more than ready to be able to move past that, and that's where I'm at right now.
Yes, I can totally relate to what you're saying there. So at this point in time, do you have anything else that you want to add as to possibly for individuals that might be in a similar situation?
I, being someone who's going through this for the first time myself, I don't know. Honestly, just general life advice, I suppose. Be perseverant. Don't take no for an answer. You know yourself better than the doctors, despite their degree. Um, and be your own advocate. I'd say those are probably the biggest points, but that doesn't just go for surgeries. That doesn't just go for amputations. That doesn't just go for with doctors and whatnot. That's for pretty much all walks of life. I think I think that we're a bunch of pushovers and that we need to stand up for ourselves. And so that's probably it.
And I won't say we're pushovers. Again, a lot of times it is our first time and we have no clue. We don't know what we don't know. So
Exactly.
we look to the professionals for the best advice. And, you know, they're human. We have to give some empathy and compassion because, again, every one of us is different.
Fair. You
And
are right.
and so we do have to do that. But again, we need to advocate for ourselves because no one else is going to do that for us.
Correct.
So, with that, I thank you today, and we will be in touch, stay in touch, and figure out when we want the next one
Yes,
to
sir.
come out. And we will just keep everyone on pins and needles and stay tuned and watch, check out all the YouTube videos, check out the social media, Jeff Solberg, Jeff giving a hand and pointed in the right direction so that you can follow Joseph's journey. And thank you, Joseph.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me on.
You're most welcome.